Hello, story lovers. Welcome to Folks and Tales, your one-stop channel for stories that inspire and lessons that last. Once upon a time, in a quiet and small village situated in the western part of Nigeria, there was a girl called Pelumi. Pelumi was very beautiful and kind-hearted. Each time she passed by a group of people, heads turned, not just for her beauty, but also because of her kindness. Her father was late and her mother was a farmer. She had two younger siblings, a boy and a girl. When Pelumi finished secondary school, she helped her mother in the farm and also took care of her younger siblings. Sometimes, she even went as far as gathering children in the village during the evening hours to teach them rhymes and tell them about stories. She hoped that one day she will be able to further her education. Pelumi was 22 years old and she was one of the few maidens in her village who had not gotten married. It was a tradition in their land that once a female got to 20 years, she would choose a husband amongst the numerous suitors that came for her hand in marriage. But Pelumi did not want that for herself. She had dreams of leaving the village to further her education or learn a trade, perhaps in a nearby city. She felt that love and marriage were no priority at the moment. She had several suitors coming her way, but she rejected all of them. She wasn't ready for love or marriage. She wanted to be maid before she got married. At first, Pelumi's mother did not support her decision, but with time she came to realize that Pelumi was now an adult and she could make decisions for herself. Pelumi was very hardworking. She had always been the type to carry her family's burdens without complaining. She did not really associate with many people in the village. She had only one friend, who was her best friend. Her name was Tolani. Tolani was also a very honest girl, and that was why Pelumi found a friend in her. She visited Pelumi often at her house, and they usually played games and read books together. One evening, Tolani went to visit Pelumi at her house. When she got there, she didn't meet her at home. Pelumi's mother then came out of the living room to welcome Tolani. She told her that Pelumi had gone to the village square to teach some of the children in the village. Tolani just shook her head and sat down to wait for her. Shortly after, they heard the crackles of the door. It was Pelumi, looking very tired and exhausted. Immediately, Tolani started teasing her. "You need to live a little. You cannot let your whole life pass you by, Pelumi," Tolani said with a bright smile. Pelumi chuckled and said that living can wait and she needed to be hardworking now. They both laughed about the whole situation. Tolani then reminded her about the annual Moonlight Festival that was held in their village every year. It was a time of celebration with lots of music, food, drinks and laughter. Everyone gathered at the village square to dance, eat, drink and laugh. Pelumi had never attended this festival. She always hesitated to go. But this time, Tolani was able to convince her into going and she finally agreed to go. It was the night of the festival. The village square was filled with music and laughter. It was radiating with beauty as a result of different colors of wrappers that the villagers wore. The drum beats were loud, producing a lovely rhythm. Pelumi and Tolani arrived at the festival looking stunning with beautiful color-blended wrappers. Heads turned as they walked in. Tolani didn't fail to tell Pelumi how beautiful she was, encouraging her to have fun and mingle. As the night passed on, Pelumi found herself enjoying every beat of the festival. The laughter, the songs, the dance. For the first time, she had fun without thinking about something to do. It was a good feeling, although the noise in the village eventually became intense, so she went to the edge of the square, which was a lot quieter. She stood there watching everything from a distance. Few minutes later, a stranger with a kind voice offered her a drink. It was a sweet yet unfamiliar brew. She took the drink and immediately she started feeling lightheaded. The next thing, she went blank. Pelumi woke up the next morning and found herself on her bed. Her body was aching and her head was heavy. Her mother scolded her for staying out so late, but she was very confused as to how she found herself in her room. "I don't remember coming back home," she murmured to herself. But then again, she thought to herself that Tolani must have brought her back home, so she just brushed it off. She assumed that she was too tired and that was why she couldn't remember anything, so she just pushed the thought aside. But somehow, she still felt uneasy. She couldn't understand how she could be so forgetful. It had never happened. As weeks passed by, Pelumi started noticing changes in her body system. She felt different, more tired than usual. One morning, she woke up feeling very exhausted. She was concerned as to why she was still feeling so tired after hours of sleep. But then, again, she brushed it off and just assumed it was normal fatigue. That same day, Pelumi's mother told Pelumi to follow her to the farm. When they got there, her mother noticed how tired she was, even before they started working. Her usual enthusiasm and zeal to work wasn't there. She was struggling to lift the heavy loads, which was very unusual. Her mother watched her closely with concern. "Pelumi, what's wrong? You are not your usual self. Is anything the matter?" Her mother asked with concern. Pelumi just tried to brush it off, telling her mother that she was just tired. A month later, she noticed that her monthly period didn't come. She became very worried and she decided to confide in her best friend Tolani. That afternoon, Pelumi told Tolani about how she hadn't seen her period for 1 month. She also explained how she had been feeling very tired and weak for some weeks. Tolani's eye widened in shock as she told Pelumi that she could be pregnant. But Pelumi did not want to believe that because she hadn't been with anyone or even had sex with anyone. Her denial was very sharp and straightforward. Meanwhile, Pelumi's mother had been noticing some changes in Pelumi. Her appetite grew, she was always feeling tired, her waistline began to expand and she was always wanting to vomit. One evening, her mother decided to confront her while they were pounding yam together. "Are you with child?" she asked. Those words hit Pelumi hard and immediately she burst into tears. She explained to her mother that she didn't know how it happened. She swore to her mother that she had not done anything to bring shame to their family, with tears rolling down her cheeks. Her mother knelt beside her and tried to comfort her, with mixed expressions of worry and sorrow. Pelumi's mother embraced Pelumi and told her that they would figure it out together with a soft tone. Pelumi clung to her mother's arms. She loved the comfort it brought and she wished she could stay there longer. When Pelumi stopped crying, her mother then asked her to tell her the whole truth about what happened. She went further to ask Pelumi if she had sex with any man. Pelumi shook her head in disagreement. She said that she had not been with anyone. She explained to her mother that everything started after the festival that night. She woke up in her bed the next morning and she did not know how she got home. She also talked about the crowd and the drink she had. It was immediately Pelumi had that drink that she found herself at home. She couldn't remember anything from that night. Pelumi's mother then asked about Tolani. "You both went for the festival. At least she should have an idea of what happened." Pelumi told her mother that she had already confronted Tolani, but Tolani could only remember her having a drink and disappearing. Tolani looked for Pelumi everywhere that night, but she was nowhere to be found. It was then that Pelumi realized that someone might have taken advantage of her. It was very sad. For every inquiry Pelumi made, she became more confused, and she really was eager to know what happened. As weeks passed, Pelumi's belly began to grow, and her pregnancy was not hidden anymore. Everyone in the village knew of her pregnancy. In their village, a pregnant maiden without a husband was considered a scandal. A lot of news was spread about Pelumi's pregnancy. Some of the villagers accused her of lying, while others said that she was just careless. One day when Pelumi went to the stream to fetch water, a group of villagers stood by the side, gossiping and laughing. "I'm sure she's just lying. She not who impregnated her, but she wants to act like she's the victim," one of the villagers murmured. The judgment from the community was suffocating. Every day Pelumi shed tears in her closet. She was tired of the humiliation from the community. She needed answers. Each time she passed by a group of people, they always had something bad to say about her. Pelumi made efforts to seek answers. She approached young men in the village who had attended the festival, hoping that she would at least find a clue, but no one admitted to nothing. The constant denial she got from all the men deepened her frustration. Pelumi's pregnancy was far from easy. On the physical aspect, her body system was not prepared for the changes that came with pregnancy. She experienced fatigue. Sometimes she felt very dizzy, making her incapable of carrying out her day-to-day activities. Despite all the changes, Pelumi still pushed herself to keep working hard. Her mother and her siblings needed her contributions to survive, and she refused to make her condition a burden for her family. The physical trials she faced were hard, but it was nothing compared to the emotional trials. It was a lot harder. The whispers and insults in the village became worse with each passing day. Whenever she walked to the market, she could feel them staring at her with a lot of disgust and murmuring some harsh words about her. One day, Pelumi went to the market. The market was very lively. There were tubers of yam arranged in baskets. There was also roasted fish. She walked by the market with her face facing the floor. Her wrapper was tied loosely against her swollen belly. There were a lot of whispers. "Did you see her stomach? Still no word of the father," one of the market women said out loud. "She was always so proud. Now look at her," another market woman said with resentment on her face. Pelumi tried her best to ignore them. She kept her eyes on the ground, pretending not to hear what they were saying. Although her heart was still heavy, she felt bad because she is a human being who has feelings. The humiliation was intense, to the extent that even her siblings also suffered it. Her younger sister, Teniola, came home from school one afternoon in tears because other children in her school mocked her, saying that her sister is a prostitute who slept with numerous men. When Pelumi heard this news, she was very sad and she went to her room and wept bitterly. She wished that her family did not have to suffer humiliation because of her, something that she didn't understand herself. Weeks later, Pelumi decided not to take their judgment and harsh words to heart anymore. She decided to put all her energy into taking care of her unborn baby. There was a midwife in their village. Her name was Iyabo, but everyone in the village called her Mama Iyabo. Pelumi visited her often for care. Mama Iyabo was the oldest midwife in the village for almost 5 decades. Her house was a modest mud house, which was surrounded by medicinal plants and herbs. She was more than a midwife. She was also a confidant and a guide to some of the villagers. Mama Iyabo had come across several women who had passed through similar situations like Pelumi, and she understood the weight of the stigma that they bore. One day after their section, Mama Iyabo asked Pelumi to sit down with her under a mango tree just beside her hut. She encouraged Pelumi to be strong and that the child she was carrying would be her greatest blessing. She also told her not to be affected by what the community was saying, and she should not let their words bring down her spirits. As time went on, Mama Iyabo became a strong support system for Pelumi. She taught her how to care for her unborn baby as well as her own body during the pregnancy. Mama Iyabo gave Pelumi medicinal herbs to ease up all the unusual feelings. Pelumi was so grateful to God for sending someone like Mama Iyabo to her life. And at the right time, Mama Iyabo visited Pelumi often and brought her some herbs to ease her symptoms. She also taught Pelumi how to prepare for the child's arrival. Mama Iyabo showed unwavering support to Pelumi. She never judged her or asked questions that were offensive to her. Instead, she focused on being positive about what the future would bring. Pelumi found strength in Mama Iyabo's words, especially when the whispers from the village were too overwhelming. Yet, amidst support Pelumi got from Mama Iyabo, one question still haunted her. Who was it that had taken advantage of her? It was a thing she needed to know, not just for her sake but for the child's too. She would not want her child growing up with all those questions pertaining to her background. Pelumi began putting the pieces together. That night at the festival, talking to people who were there and trying to put fragments of her memory together. She remembered a drink someone had given to her, a sweet but unfamiliar brew. She remembered having only a few sips before the lightheaded feeling started. Tolani, her best friend, helped her track down the young men who had been nearby that night. Most of them denied knowing anything, but one of the men, whose name was Olamide, behaved very weird. He was very uncomfortable when she mentioned the drink. It was very obvious, even to the blind. "Why are you asking me these things?" he snapped. "I don't know anything about your situation." His defensive attitude made Pelumi to suspect him even more. She didn't have enough evidence to point at Olamide, but the way he reacted sent her into a fit of restlessness. She spoke to Mama Iyabo about it, and Mama Iyabo cautioned her to tread carefully. "These things are dangerous, my dear. He may not want the truth to come out. If he's guilty, he may conspire to eliminate you, to hide the truth." Pelumi was determined, so she started monitoring Olamide from afar. She realized that he was not sticking around anywhere public where she was, but she noticed he always hung around one particular wealthy villager who was known to be able to settle disputes amicably without taking sides. One evening, Pelumi decided to confront him directly. She felt it was the right time, knowing that he lingered around the market. She waited for him at the same market. She finally spotted him and immediately she called out his name. "Olamide, I need to speak with you." He tried to walk away, but Pelumi dragged his hand, bringing him back to the conversation. "I remember the drink you gave me that night," she said. "I didn't understand what was happening, but now I know you have something to do with this." Olamide froze. His face was filled with fear and guilt. At first, he wanted to deny it, but when he saw that Pelumi had remembered his face from that night, he became anxious. I didn't mean for it to happen," he stammered. He explained that it was just a game that him and some of the other guys all laughed about. Olamide and his friends planned on spiking Pelumi's drink. Everyone in the village knew Pelumi was a very responsible girl who didn't flock around men. Because of this, Olamide and his friends just wanted to see how Pelumi would act when she was intoxicated. He never thought that she would get pregnant. Pelumi's heart sank. The truth was uglier than she'd imagined. Olamide and a group of young men had spiked her drink as part of a cruel prank, and he had taken advantage of her vulnerability. Pelumi had been devastated and would not let go easily. She decided to go meet Mama Iyabo for advice. When she got to her hut, Mama Iyabo welcomed her with open arms as usual and offered her a seat to sit down. Pelumi told her how things went with Olamide, with sadness written all over her face. Mama Iyabo felt pity for her. What that young man did to you isn't fair, and I think you should report him to the village elders, Mama Iyabo said with concern. At first, Pelumi was skeptical about the idea of taking the matter to the village elders, but after much consideration, she decided to do it. One afternoon, Pelumi took the matter with the support of Mama Iyabo to the village elders. The elders at first were not willing to help. They did not want to spoil the good name of the village by pursuing the matter, but Pelumi would not let it be. She didn't give up. She kept on paying them unexpected visits. Another afternoon, she paid them a visit. This time she was very heavy. Her belly had grown very big. The elders saw her condition and they felt pity for her. They saw that she wouldn't give up, so they decided to listen to her. Pelumi felt a relief that they finally wanted to hear her out. She narrated everything to them. If you let him go unpunished, she said, her voice steady while her hands shook, you are telling every man in this village that our lives and dignity mean nothing. The elders, unable to ignore the growing outcry, eventually summoned Olamide and his accomplices to face justice. Olamide and his friends were banished from the village for 5 years, leaving their families and source of living behind. Her courage inspired other women to come forward, sharing their own stories. Pelumi finally got the justice she wanted, and she was at peace. One hot afternoon, Pelumi went into labor. Immediately, her mother took her to Mama Iyabo's hut for the delivery of the baby. Hours had passed and still no word from Mama Iyabo. Pelumi's mother stood outside the hut, worrying if something had gone wrong. She prayed and hoped that soon her daughter would birth the child. Minutes later, Mama Iyabo came out and broke the news to Pelumi's mother. Congratulations! It's a baby girl! Mama Iyabo said with a smiling face. She thanked Mama Iyabo for her support through the pregnancy. Days later, Pelumi named her baby Ifeoluwa, which means love, and would always remind her of how much strength she found in loving her child, despite all the pain and uncertainty. Motherhood wasn't easy, but Pelumi poured her heart into raising her daughter. In due time, the village softened towards her, and they started admiring her determination, the way she looked after Ifeoluwa, who grew into a bright and lively child. From this story, I learned that there is strength in courage and perseverance. How about you? What lessons did you learn from this story? Drop it in the comment section below. I'd love to read them. Thanks for watching, story lovers. Again, this is Folks and Tales. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a big thumbs up, comment, and share this video to other story lovers. Also, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified whenever we upload the video. We will be uploading intriguing and captivating stories multiple times per week. You don't want to miss them. Until my next one, peace and love.